Hello, this is Catherine Dubberly, the Answer Lady. I'm a big fan of Kiss Looms. I greatly enjoy mine, and I am cooperating with Kelly at Kiss Looms to make you a playlist of all the basic techniques that you might ever want to know on all of the looms. So welcome and enjoy. Here is my Kiss Loom set up for double knitting. And if you've watched the other videos on double knitting, you'll know there's more than one way to do this. And I've already explained in another video how to set up the loom to do it. Now I'm going to show you my personal favorite double knitting stitch. There are several. This one is my favorite. Place your loop on the far left peg and begin wrapping around every other peg, zigzagging back and forth across the loom. When you get to the end, repeat the whole thing in reverse. Wrap both end pegs and zigzag back and forth. So every peg will get wrapped, but it takes 2 trips across the loom to do it. This particular method of casting on requires that we hang something called an anchor cord. Otherwise, the beginning of the cast on just won't hold still and behave itself. So I'm going to pull this cord down. Use a contrasting color just because it's easier on you. Pull it down over here too. And then, so as to be able to control what goes on from here on out, knot the ends of your cord together. Doesn't matter what kind of a knot, this is temporary. This is going to do several things for us. It's going to make it possible to knit over the next row. It's going to make it possible to control the stitches by pulling them down with the anchor cord. And while I'm at it, I should pull my yarn tail down. There it is. I am using a latch needle to do this. A crochet hook will work too. Now, every row will be knitted in the same way that we did the cast on. Zigzag wrap across, wrap both end pegs, zigzag wrap back. And I traditionally do my last wrapped peg first, knitting it over so it doesn't escape from me. These first few rows will seem very loose and sloppy. Don't worry about it. That's what we have the anchor cord to help us with, and they will calm down when there's more knitting. See how that wants to just, seems like it won't be a nice stitch, but I promise you it will. I can give a little tug. Now, not a big tug till we've knitted the whole row. Double knitting almost always looks the same on both sides of the fabric, and they both look like the knit side. There is no visible purl side unless you work at changing the look of the stitches to get it. But the normal double knitting wrap produces 2 knit sides, which makes for a fabric that does not roll at all. Very nice for scarves. This can also be great for jacket fronts and any number of things. Every row from here on out will be wrapped and knitted in the same exact manner. As always, when you're working with a knitting board or a loom of any kind, try to avoid wrapping in such a tight wrap that you make it hard on the yarn, hard on the loom, and hard on yourself. And did you see what I just did? That's a mistake. Only 1 peg should be included in the wrap. So what I'm going to do is knit a few rows so that you'll be able to see this develop and come back to you, and then we'll bind off together. See you then. I've knitted several rows now, using the stitch that is wrapped, I'll trace the path, alternating needles like this. And then on the way back, you get the opposite set. And here is how we typically bind off this stitch. As you know, there are always alternatives, but this is a very common bind off. Go ahead and snip the working yarn and figure out that attaches to the stitch on this front board. So I'm going to start with a stitch on the back board, pick it up on either a latch tool or a crochet hook. I found the latch tool a little bit easier. Chain one, stitch through the next. We're going to work back and forth between the boards doing that. Chain one through the next. Come on now, behave yourself, stitch. Chain one through the next. This is actually not difficult. Unfortunately, it's hard to get in a position where I can see and the camera can see too. So what I'm going to do is do a couple more so that you get a good idea. And then I'm going to make it easier on myself by going off camera to finish till the very end. Pull through. Pick up another stitch. Pull through. And so on across. See you when I'm done. I'm already off of the loom, but I have one more thing to do. The last couple stitches are on there. I need to pull one through the other, like that, and then pull the yarn tail through the last one. And what you get is a chained edge with a little bit of zigzagging because we went back and forth. You can see how nice this fabric is and how different it is from the figure eight fabric. This is stretchier and it resembles ribbing, and there is a good reason for that because we went back and forth alternating pegs in a way that would produce something very close to ribbing. Now, this needs some help. That's how this kind of cast on always ends up. And now we will make use of our anchor cord, and we'll just chain one loop through the next. Very simple. And when we're all done, we'll pull the anchor cord out, and it will create a nice, neat edge. And it'll pull in that untidiness. It's not an exact match for the cast off, but it's not very far off either. It's pretty much exact in how much it pulls in or doesn't pull in, and its stability level. This one looks straighter. What I'm saying is that the treatment that I'm using to finish the cast on does not have that zigzaggy look that the bind off has. Let's stop here and pull out the anchor cord. Well, I guess I ought to snip it, shouldn't I? Pull it out to the point we are. There's your nice finished edge. There's what you started with. This fabric looks almost indistinguishable. I really think it is indistinguishable from plain old stockinette stitch, knitted single. It's just that when you turn it over, you've got the same exact thing. Let's try to make a comparison. Where this one looks quite different, and you saw how it was constructed differently. Both of them are very warm, very curl-free, and I particularly like this one for jackets. And they're both very easy to do, double knitting on your Kiss Loom.